I'm saying hello today on December 1st, 2010 from beautiful Miami, Florida with my local expert David Brown. David, you have taken me to a very special historic place and neighborhood here. Where are we?
Yes, this is the historic Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. This is one of the earliest churches in Overtown, if not the earliest church. Congregation going back to 1896. And we're very fortunate today to have the pastor with us to say hello. This is my friend, Pastor Beltros.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Pastor. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And David was talking to me about the Overtown neighborhood, and he said you would really know what it was like to grow up here in this area. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Decipher what is important to you. When I was born in Overtown, well, let's talk about the church. This church was founded in 1896 prior to the incorporation of the City of Miami. Okay. At least two of our members signed that incorporation. And one of the good things about that is that in order to sign the incorporation, you had to own property. So it indicates that African Americans owned property at the turn of the century. As a matter of fact, one of our members or members of our board of trustees was the first African American millionaire by the name of D.A. Dorsey. As a matter of fact, his name is on our cornerstone. Really? Yes.
What type of industry might he have been in?
He was in real estate.
Real estate, good for him.
As a matter of fact, the high school that I attended, D.A. Dorsey High School, we just called it Dorsey High School, was named that because he gave the property for the school to be built. The stadium, as it were, which is called Dorsey Park, where I played football, was land that he gave to the county. And I understand that a couple of buildings downtown, which are not there now, one was Bird Islands. It was built on property that he owned. So he was quite a guru, as it were, in real estate. And his home, a replica, an exact replica of his home is right here on 9th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenues. Okay. So anyway, you had these people who came south because Henry Flagler was going to move the railroad from West Palm Beach to Miami. At that time, this was wilderness, as it were, and they thought that this barren land, you'd come out here.
Was it swampland per se?
Sort of. Yes.
Sort of, okay.
Yes. And so, what's Tuggle's first name?
Julia Tuttle. There we go, yes.
Sometimes, I have lots of Tuggles in my head. Julia Tuttle convinced him that this was good land, and he came down and he agreed. So he decided to move the railroad from West Palm Beach to Miami. And so these persons came down for employment, you see. And that's how they got here. So they decided that they needed a place of worship, and that was when segregation was status quo. And so they organized the Mount Zion Baptist Church. Now, as far as we're concerned, we are the first African American church because in our history they were told there are not enough Negroes in South Florida to build a church, or to organize a church. But Bethlehem Church has the reputation because they incorporated before we did. Now that's a national church. They have a connection to the national church, which is headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So they were accustomed to doing all of those things. The people who founded this church just were a group of people who wanted to worship God. So that didn't mean anything to them. But it was absolutely important to that church, its national headquarters, to have a church incorporated. They were incorporated before we were, but we were the first church. Now actually in South Florida, there's a church in Coconut Grove that was founded in 1893 or 4. I'm not sure. Whatever. I don't want to talk about that. But back to the point. So everything, segregation was status quo. I grew up in this community. I was born in Overtown. This was a fantastic community because all of the celebrities, African-American celebrities, Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole, Joe Louis, the heavyweight champion, Lena Horne, and all of those people would come here and they would perform on Miami Beach. They have to live in this community. And we could walk out there on the streets and see them walking the streets. As a matter of fact, I think I was about 13 years old, and I had a professor who had a motel on 8th Street, the Barrier Motel. And I came over here to work, get a little money, mopping and doing those kinds of things. I went on 2nd Avenue to a drugstore, and there was this man standing there with the newspaper. And I idolized Joe Louis the way the kids idolized Muhammad Ali when he was in his 80s. And I was squatting down reading a comic book, we call it a funny paper back in those days. And the heavyweight champion of the world was standing right next to me.
Really?
I had no idea. I knew how he talked, and I draw. I idolized him so I could draw him by heart. And we used to joke about how he talked because he was not well trained academically. And the proprietor came out and said, "Hello, champ," like that with this enthusiasm. "How you doing?" And he said, "I'm okay." And I froze. I was petrified.
Okay.
I could not move. I couldn't deal with the idea that the heavyweight champion of the world was standing by me. And I wanted to look at him so badly, but I could not stand up. I almost crawled over about 5 yards from him, and then I stood up. And I wished all my friends were there so they could see what I saw. Now that's just an example. Nat King Cole used to wear what we call those hairstyles. I can't remember the name of it now, but they would slick their hair.
Okay.
And he would go and get processed.
Processed hair.
We call it a process. He would go and get his processed over at local barbershops right here and beauty shops right here in Overtown. So, but this church was, am I talking too long? This church, let me just close with saying this church always was concerned with the growth and development of our people as people. And we brag on having had some of the leading national leaders to come to our church to speak. And one of them was the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself.
Wow.
He spoke at this church.
When was he here, roughly?
It had to be in the 60s. Because I was here in 68 when he was assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Very, very historic place here, the Mount Zion Baptist Church. Is that what it's called? How big?
Historic Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church.
Okay.
We have a small congregation, although we have a large building. We used to have more than several thousand. But you have mega churches now in the city, and young people go to the churches where they have the kinds of ministers that they like. But our church has a nucleus of people, some of whom this is the only church they've ever been in. And some of them have reached age 80 and 90.
Wow.
Some of them even reached 100.
Yeah.
We have a small group of young people who have come in since I've been here. So I would guess our membership might be about 300.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much for giving me an overview of this beautiful church. Thank you, Pastor.
You're quite welcome.